Hello, everyone, and welcome to DBD's developer update for May. Seems like we've got quite a bit to go over, so let's jump right on into it. Seems like there's a lot that there's going on here. So let's go down to Chucky. Decreased Heidi Ho cooldown to 12 seconds was 18. I like that. Chucky can now only scamper while performing slice and dice attack. I feel like that is much needed just because for Chucky mains out there or anyone that just casually plays Chucky, you would have to scamper then slice and dice. I feel like with this change you're going to potentially get more hits and downs. I'm excited for this. Decreased time it takes to scamper to 1.3 was 1.4. I agree with that. That's a nice buff to Chucky. Let's move on to the cannibal. Increased chainsaw sweep duration to 2.5 seconds per token was 2. Very nice buff. Increased chainsaw sweep movement speed to 5.35 was 5.29. That's beautiful. Decreased collision detection size to help navigate tight spaces. Hallelujah. I love Flamey, so Bubba, I love hearing this. Decreased base tantrum time to 3 seconds was 5. That's huge. So that's going to require survivors to, relearn the timing on lockers. This could be huge for the first little bit that it's out. I think though with the PTB they might swap it back to 5. I have a feeling about that. But if we do get to keep it to 3 seconds, that would be absolutely amazing. So, several add ons have been adjusted accordingly. All right, let's move down to Death Slinger here. Decreased stun time when a survivor breaks free to 2.7 was 3 seconds. Increased real speed to 2.76 was 2.6. Increased movement speed while reloading to 3.08 was 2.64. So we've got 3 buffs already for killers. That's incredible. Okay, Mastermind. Decreased hindered penalty from infection to 4% was 8. So a bit of a nerf here. Infection now reduced to 1% when hooked was 50%. I feel like this was a change that was necessary. I do love playing Wesker. Wesker is incredibly strong. But I feel like this is the right track towards making it more balanced in trials against a Wesker. Let's move down to Blight. Change Compound 33 now increased rush turn rate and duration by 11% was 33. So another nerf. Iridescent Blight Tag now increased rush speed by 10% was 20%. So a little bit of a nerf for Blight. I feel like as of recently, Blight's been getting, pardon me, like hit pretty hard. But I think for Blight mains, they're still in good standing. Blight's still pretty strong. So I'm not too worried about that nerf. I think it's a little bit more fair. Let's jump down to the toolboxes, shall we? So increased toolbox sabotage speed across most variants, increased effects of sabotage related add-ons, grip wrench, cutting wire, hacksaw. I feel like that is much needed. And you know what? I'm excited to see more Sabo plays. I do love a group of survivors that want to do Sabo plays when I'm playing Killer. I also like doing it when I'm playing Survivor myself. So I think this is a good update. All right, let's move on down to Deadlock. Decreased block duration to 25 seconds was 30. I feel like, that is justified, and I feel that is slightly moving towards more fair. I think maybe they should have done it to 20 seconds instead of 25. That's just my opinion. It could be a little bit extreme, but most times I don't use deadlock anymore because I mostly play like Stealth Billy. But yeah, let's move on down to background player. Decreased movement speed to 150 was 200, so a bit of a nerf there. Decreased exhaustion duration to 20 seconds was 40, so a bit of a buff there. I feel like that is fair. You're still going to get your wacky, crazy plays with background player. The other thing too is you're going to be able to use it more frequently. So I think that is going to be huge for survivors, and I'm excited to see it in game. Let's move down to Grim Embrace. So this I use a bit on like certain killers. Decreased block duration to 10 seconds was 12. Um, I agree with that change. Now, my only issue with this is I would have liked to see the change done to the full stacks. Because ultimately, when you have all 4 stacks, it's a very lengthy time to block all generators. I feel like that could be tweaked a bit because there's times that I'm finding myself where like I'm just dominating at that point, or there's been more than a handful of times I've completely ended the game once it reaches 4 stacks. All right, let's move down to Decisive Strike. Really? I feel like a Decisive Strike has been one of those perks that, like, it's like, what's the best example I could use? It's like one of those things where you get it in a game, right? And it's like the most reworked item or perk or so on and so forth in the game. They just never leave it alone. I feel like the reduced stun duration to 4 seconds is incredibly unnecessary. Um, I think it should be 5 or 6 seconds, to help the survivors. Uh, when you're playing killer and you've got the correct gen pressure and everything, you'll never have to worry about decisive strike. Um, I can understand that at certain points in the map, you're going to have to, potentially tunnel someone out just to turn the tides, because if they're banging out generators, it makes it really hard to maintain that pressure. So I'm really hoping they revert that. They don't keep that for decisive strike. Let's go down to pop. Decreased regression effect to 20% was 30. That I feel is incredibly needed. Pop is already incredibly strong as it is, because think of this, right? So with pain res, right, you're guaranteed 4 25% regression, but that's 1 per survivor in the match. So you can't get, 1 more regression off of the same survivor. With pop, you can get multiple off of the same survivor, except you got to go and find the gen. With pain res, it goes straight to the most progressed gen. So I feel like early game, okay, pain res takes the win there. Throughout the entirety of the match, pop will ultimately do better. So I'm happy about this nerf. Let's move on to Buckle Up. Removed Buckle Up's endurance. I feel like that was so necessary. I agree with this change. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, but you know what? That's my opinion. And you know what? They're completely entitled to their own opinion. Uh, Survivors healed from the dying state break into a sprint at 150% movement speed for up to 5 seconds, and it does not cause exhaustion. So that's huge. Think about this, right? If you're able to successfully get the For the People and Buckle Up off, and they're running, like, for example, Life or not background player, Smash Hit, I mean, right? And they're able to successfully get that off. They've made such a huge gap that I think it's a good change. I think this is also much needed because it breaks the whole meta for the people and Buckle Up. I can't tell you the amount of times where like I've gone into a match and I get my first down before the first generator even pops. And there's like two of them right there with For the People and Buckle Up, or even a third. And it's like, oh, where are you guys coming from? Why are you coming out of the woodworks for the first down? And like they will just sit there and like harass you. And like the thing is, like from what my understanding is, Buckle Up was intended to be for an anti-tunnel perk, not to like abuse it in that sense. So I definitely agree with this change. Let's move on to pain res. So decreased regression effect to 20% was 25. So I'm still going to sit here and say that pop is like more valuable. Like granted, pop, you have a duration window to use it. But like as for someone like me that runs hillbilly, pop is amazing because I use a lot of high mobility killers. And that helps me a lot more throughout the matches. Do I agree with this nerf? 110%. Much needed. I think that's going to potentially break a lot of people that use pain res, and they're going to potentially look at swapping it out. Now, the other thing that I am super excited for, let's move down to it. Invocation, weaving spiders. Decreased invocation time to 60 seconds was 120. Hallelujah for the survivors. Basically, in a nutshell, this perk was very much so useless. No one would want to sit there for 2 minutes using this perk in the basement just to get 10 charges off. So now that they've changed that, I hope to see it more in the games. And it should create a unique atmosphere for trials. Now for another rework that I'm excited for is the Decimated Borg. So we're no longer going to load in and just see a fucking orange screen. This has me excited because now I can genuinely enjoy this map. I feel like that map was so bright. There was no way that you could hide from the killer. So you couldn't pull cheeky in plain sight hides, I feel. And like if you were incredibly lucky to get that. So I feel like now that it's going to be a little bit darker and not so bright, you'll be able to get off more cheeky plays and it's not going to look as terrible as it did. Item previews. Ooh, okay, this is huge. This is huge for new players. reworked the pop-ups for items within the trial. So I think this is going to help new players massively. Where, as you can see here in the picture, right, EMP, and then empty slot. That I hope that goes for even like regular chests, because like, say for example, if you're a new player, right, and you went to one chest and you already picked an item up, right, and you go to another one, it'll tell you that you can't grab it because you've already got something in your hand, or you would have to trade it out. Now, hopefully, um, they make it where they even say exchange, because like I've bumped into some survivors that have, asked the question, how do I drop items? How do, like, I know that if it's not really giving the friendly tip. So I think they should give the little tip. Like, I don't know what it is for controller, for console players, but I do know that R is to drop on PC. I think it should let you know, right? To help out those new players. So I think this is a great change and look forward to seeing it in DBD. Now, the last thing as well is it is now going to be the 8th anniversary of DBD. So they have plenty of surprises in store for the upcoming year. Be sure to tune in to our anniversary podcast on the 14th at 11 a.m. ET for exciting reveals, including new features, the next chapter, and more. I'm excited for that. I'm curious to what they're going to do. If they're going to change it up or keep it like relatively similar to how they do it every anniversary. The thing that I'm interested in, and I know they've already released it, and you can already see the trailer, is the next chapter. I'm interested to how that chapter is going to play out, because I would have never expected that to be in here. I'm also choosing my words wisely because I don't want to spoil it for people that don't want spoilers about it. But overall, it should be an amazing chapter. I know DBD has like a little bit of on and off with chapter releases. So I'm hoping this is a good one. But yeah, so that has been the developer update for May. If you liked the changes that you're seeing here and you hope to see more great changes like this, or if you know disagree with some of them, that's okay. Everyone has their own right to their opinion. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.